welcome to Graceful Healing, a podcast to get straight talk about healing and living again. My name is Maureen Lake, a holistic health coach, speaker, author, and thyroid disease fighter. My passion is advocating for women's health. Each week, I'll be bringing you graceful conversations to inspire you to seek new ways to hit the reset button, to catapult your health and vitality to new levels. With each episode, we'll discuss with thought leaders, influencers, fellow authors, and women just like you, to share new perspectives about gaining a holistic outlook on life and healing. Listen in and open your heart to all the new possibilities. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hello, all my graceful friends, and welcome to Friday Feelings, a podcast about healing yourself and honoring your journey. Oh, before I get started, I want to mention that I actually started a private Facebook room for us to share and explore together on topics and concerns, celebrations, and motivations. It's where we can discuss openly and privately. I'll also share nutritional strategies, some recipes and other things, anything really. Beautiful conversations, custom tips, intimacy with concerns and ideas. Want to join? You can find the Graceful Healing VIP room on Facebook. Just search for Graceful Healing VIP room. I can't wait to see you there. Please join. Today I'm going to talk about how toxic are we? And it's a hard day for me today. It's actually a 1-year anniversary since losing my beautiful dog, Keira. If you're a pet owner, you understand the depths of my sadness. She died at the tender age of 10 years old, way too soon, from liver cancer. She was way too young, a puppy at heart. The odd thing is, 6 months later, my daughter's dog, Aiden, died of cancer too. They were best friends, and they actually lived part of their short lives together in my house. So what I'm going to talk about today is our environments, our toxic environments. You see, when Keira died, I started to really freak out, thinking it was something that I did or somehow I caused her cancer. Was it the fertilizer I used in my yard? What about her dog food? She loved her treats. Did I overfeed her? Maybe, just maybe I didn't walk her enough. I fed her kibble for years before changing up her diet to a more enriched meat diet. Maybe. I started to play the blame game, something we're all so good at. Well, it's been a year since I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism too. Funny how they coincided. I tried really hard to beat it back into submission using supplements, changing my lifestyle, including my diet. I changed the way I exercise. I really increased my meditation practice. You name it, I did it. But when Keira died, I was spun downward into a depth of grief that took another toll on me. I know, I've heard it all. Like, she was just a dog after all. But she was my best friend in so many times of need. A true soulmate you only come across once in a lifetime if you're lucky. She was all that to me. So when she died suddenly, without much warning, I was a wreck. Stress is a silent killer in so many ways. A few months later, I not only had to start pharmaceuticals for my hypothyroidism, but I had some further blood testing, and suddenly, I had Hashimoto's on top of it. Anyway, enough about me. This is about you and toxins, because when I went on a detective search to find if there was a reason why my best friend and her best friend contracted cancer, I came to understand the impact environmental triggers have on our life. It's handy dandy to blame autoimmune disease all on genetics, isn't it? But the truth is, it can only account for about a third of your risk for developing one in the first place. I'm sure you've heard the expression that while genes load a gun, the environment pulls the trigger. And it's true. The chemicals and pathogens your immune system is exposed to in your day-to-day life will have an impact on whether or not you actually develop an autoimmune disease in the first place. In fact, there's bacteria and viruses lurking out there that have been linked to the development of autoimmunity in the first place. The thinking behind this is that they contain teeny tiny proteins that closely resemble your own, which completely confuses your autoimmune system. So what happens? The exposure to toxins and chemicals can actually trigger an autoimmune disease. Great, huh? We're exposed to these nasty things through pollution, our water, pesticides, herbicides in food, our cleaning products, personal care products, even chemical exposure right here in your very home or workplace. So what happens if we can find the trigger and remove it? Well, sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the toxin, the level of exposure, and of course, your autoimmune disease. Sometimes complete reversal can happen. Sometimes there's been so much damage that even removing the harmful substance, the damage has already been done. This doesn't mean you can't heal though. It only means diet and lifestyle is that much more important. So, there are so many symptoms of toxicity that when you look at a list, you first think it's borderline ridiculous. It seems like everything is affected, and the stages and ranges of symptoms from constipation, bloating, hay fever, acne, asthma, joint stiffness, even watery eyes. And most of these symptoms can be the result of something other than toxicity. Every bodily system is affected in some way or another. The list isn't comprehensive, but here's a little sampling here. How many symptoms do you have? Hot flashes, frequent need to urinate, sneezing, gagging or need to clear your throat, hello, sweating excessively, canker sores, confusion, shortness of breath, watery eyes, being lethargic, hyperactivity, ringing in the ears or itchy ears, diarrhea or constipation. I mean, the list goes on and on. And you can think you might have a toxic overload just because you can identify with all of them or some of them. And some people do have these symptoms for other reasons, like diet, allergies, even anxiety. So basically, I made some changes at first, and over time did a complete revamp of my style of living for various reasons, including I needed to feel like I had a sense of control over my disease. I wanted the choice of whether to put a polluted product into my system or not. And because of that choice, I wanted to share some of the items that will continue to damage your body, your immune system, and affect your autoimmune disorder. It's really that black and white. Currently, there's over 80,000, yes, you heard me right, 80,000 different chemicals we come into contact with on a daily basis. And as women, we come into contact with even more because we use more products than men. So basically, from your teenage years on, you've likely applied hidden endocrine disorders to your body day after day, year after year. And one thing to keep in mind, which is pretty dang frightening, is that most of these chemicals haven't been evaluated for human safety. Yep, we're using products loaded with chemicals and they haven't even been evaluated. Chemicals on our skin, in our food, and in the air that we breathe. So on my website, I actually go through and I list some of these difficulties that people are having with endocrine disorders, PDBEs, which is the flame retardant that we find in so much of our household items today, including sleepwear and furniture. BPAs, the plastic that is definitely disrupting our hormone system. Parabens, which is in our food, our pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics. And you can get that list on my website at maureenlake.com. But I just want to finish up this short podcast here talking about two things called halogens. And halogens are essential for you to be aware of, not only for your thyroid health, but any autoimmune disorder that you might have. And those two are fluoride and bromine. These two halogens will actually compete with the iodine in your system. In fact, your thyroid treats them as if they're iodine. But what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that because they're competing, they cause death and inflammation of thyroid cells. That's the bottom line. And studies have shown that high exposure to both of these substances, fluoride and bromide, has a higher incidence of TPO antibodies, which is found in Hashimoto's. So it's kind of frightening, really, when you stop to think about it, that these two simple additives, which by the way are in just about everything, can be the tipping point for you getting Hashimoto's. Briefly, fluoride is in our water. It's in our toothpaste. It's in our black and red teas. It's in our Teflon pans. Our canned food items contain fluoride. Most supplements do, and most bottled beverages. Did you know that back in the early 1950s, fluoride was the drug of choice to treat hyperthyroidism? That was before they developed other drugs. And then they decided in the United States to start putting fluoride in our water around 1945. In about 2008, more than 72% of the U.S. population had fluoride drinking water running out of their taps. Now, if you contrast this to European countries, who, by the way, have rejected fluorinated water because they recognize the toxicity associated with it. So as I sit here kind of thinking about fluoride, I'm reminding myself how many fluoride treatments my own children had when they were growing up. I bought the system hook, line, and sinker. I never questioned why they needed it, especially why treating their baby teeth that were going to just fall out in a year or two. What was I thinking? And now when I look at my daughter's beautiful eyes, I often wonder if I played a role in her early onset hypothyroidism without even knowing the impact this treatment may have had on her development. Now we have water filters that we use for our drinking water, filters that eliminate fluoride from our system, even though we still pump it into our tap water. And if you're like me, you drink a lot of black tea. In fact, I kind of drink it all day long, or I did. The tea leaf gathers fluoride from the soil and from the pollution in our air. The longer the leaf stays on the tree, the more fluoride the blade holds. So, the healthiest way to keep your tea habit is to change from drinking black or red tea to white or herbal tea. Well, there's many ways to remove fluoride from your drinking water: reverse osmosis, special defluoridation filters, and even some use of some distilled water. And luckily, we can now get fluoride-free toothpaste. You can find it in just about any store now, including Whole Foods and Sprouts, or you can even make your own. But be aware, fluoride is a dangerous thing that is found everywhere. And not only is it harmful to your thyroid, if you have any autoimmune disorder at all, it's harmful for you as well. Now, bromine is another halogen that's found in all the flame retardant chemicals that we have in our household. It's actually found in a lot of baked goods, like bread products, even soft drinks and tea. And of course, it's loaded in our plastics. It's been known to cause autoimmune disorders, and it's almost impossible to avoid. All you can try to do is limit your exposure. So try to eat organic foods whenever possible, and wash them long and wash them hard to minimize your pesticide exposure. And yes, try to always eat and drink from a glass or ceramic dish and or a bottle. You can now start seeing labels that say no bromine or bromine free on commercial baked goods, which is a really good thing. And if you own a hot tub, look for an ozone purifying system to limit your exposure to bromine. Always, always, always be on the hunt for chemical-free alternatives for your personal care products. Just remember, what goes on you goes in you. And if you're ever in doubt, leave it out. If you're not sure about a product, follow your gut instinct. The bottom line is that hormone disruptors can affect you, your autoimmune disorder, and your thyroid. There are tons of other things that you can do, including changing your makeup. Try one of the new beautiful companies that are out there like Beauty Counter or Juice Beauty that offer fragrance-free and perfume-free alternatives. They really do make a difference, not only in your skin, but they'll also make a difference in your health. So just ever so quickly, there's such a strong link between infections and autoimmune disease also that I just have to touch upon this because there's so many infections that are in our environment. Actually, you could do a whole nother podcast just on this topic, but I wanted to share a couple of really common ones with you to be aware of. Now, we all know about lice and ticks and Lyme disease, but the Borrelia infection that causes them is rampant. And yes, it does cause Lyme. It does cause arthritis. There's current thinking now that schizophrenia might actually be an autoimmune disorder, which is caused by the same infection, and dementia. Giardia is another really, really common infection. In Colorado, we call it the beaver fever, but it's linked to multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, which is now suspected to be an autoimmune disorder, chronic fatigue, and arthritis. Herpes, again, extremely common infection related to onset of lupus and Guillain-Barré disease. And lo and behold, good old-fashioned strep throat. The strep infection is just something that is constantly in our environment, and quickly when you come into contact with it, if you're susceptible, look out. I'm sure everyone here listening has had it at one time or another in their life. Wonder why your doctor wants you to take all your medication without fail? Well, it can increase your chance of getting an autoimmune disorder. Yep, good old-fashioned strep infection is a trigger point. So putting the pieces together is what you need to do when you have an autoimmune disease, and it's actually the first step to getting well. Toxins are one small piece of the puzzle. As we learn more and more, it's obvious that genetics is only one piece of that bigger puzzle. In fact, current evidence points to autoimmune disease being just as tied to diet and lifestyle factors as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. Yes, my passion for understanding autoimmune disorders really stems from my own personal battle with it. And yes, I am part of the epidemic. My goal with this podcast and these short snippets of information is to hopefully inspire you to look at your situation and get a little trigger happy in order to find your reactions as well. For me, I found I had some heavy metal toxicity. Some of it was from the environment I live in Colorado. Maybe this influence harmed my dogs too. I don't know. I was also drastically low in vitamin D, even though I'm in the sun every day walking my other dogs. I supplement now daily. And yes, I filter my water. I only use glass. No plastic for this girl. I try as best as I can to eat healthy every day, cut out sugar and gluten. The list can go on and on and on. And the truth of the matter, except for minor setbacks, these things are really easy to change. It's our environment that's not so easy, is it? It's not really in our control unless we work to change regulations, which is an entirely another topic altogether. So stay strong, graceful girls. Share with me. I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you battle different things in your environment. I want to hear different topics you'd like me to discuss with you on this podcast, email me at maureen@maureenlake.com. And join my private Facebook group on Facebook too. Remember, it's called Graceful Healing VIP Room, where we will share and get deeper and deeper on topics and concerns, join together in camaraderie in our health and our wellness. Because this podcast is about healing and honoring our journey. Thank you for joining me today and have a fabulous weekend.